hell of a lot wealthier than I was 7 years ago. I was able to quit my 9-to-5 job at age 26, and now I'm able to actually do what I want to do with life. There's nobody telling me what to do. So hello everybody, this is Carlos of Fanador here, and in today's video I wanted to show you my favorite wealth building strategy in the real estate investing game, which is the BRRRR strategy. Now, for you investors out there, I know you're familiar with it. However, for the newbies, I'm gonna show you two things today, a little bit of a bonus video. I'm gonna show you the 6 wealth generators of real estate investing and how they correlate with the BRRRR. I do have a full example laid out, so hopefully you learned something from this video, and maybe a few years down the road, you can be wealthy just like a lot of us real estate investors have been. All right, so let's get right into it. Let's get into the 6 wealth generators of real estate investing. You can see they're color coded here because I do have a full example laid out. I want you guys to really understand how this BRRRR works. Let's talk about the first one. So we got cash flow. Cash flow is pretty straightforward. It's your income minus your expenses. If you have rents that are $1,000 and your costs are $750, you're left with the difference, which is $250. Straightforward, that is your cash flow. The next wealth generator is the equity pay down. So every month, your tenants are gonna be paying down your rent, therefore you own more and owe less of your property. Third, we got the forced appreciation. That means you're renovating the property, it means your material value is going up, therefore increasing the overall property value, and that's what we call forced appreciation. Some people call it active appreciation, but it's gonna be in blue in this video, so keep an eye out for that. Next, number 4, we got passive appreciation. This is the land value going up because there's a higher demand. So you're gonna find this commonly in bigger cities, developing cities, where there's a higher demand to live there, therefore the property values tend to rise. Number 5 and 6, some people don't consider these wealth generators because they're tax related. However, I think they are wealth generators because they end up keeping more money in your pocket. So as a real estate investor, you have tons of tax benefits. We can get into that briefly, but basically, if you're making 100K as a real estate investor, you're gonna get to keep a lot more of that in your pocket than you would at a job. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll also talk about the hedge on inflation. Well, what a better time to talk about this than now. With the whole COVID pandemic, we've seen inflation rates go up to 3.6%, which is what is on the record. Absolutely astronomical. Usually inflation tends to be at 1 to 2% here in Canada. However, us real estate investors have gotten really lucky because we've been able to ride that inflation wave. Whenever inflation is on the rise, assets tend to go up in value. So that's another wealth generator that I've added on here. So we got that out of the way. Again, completely separate video I'm gonna make on this because each one of these is quite important and you can dive deeply into each one of these. But for this video, we'll leave it at that. Make sure to keep an eye out for the colors when we actually talk about the example. So let's get right into the BRRRR strategy. So BRRRR stands for 5 things. It's an acronym. It means for B, buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. So that is how you get wealthy. It's not rocket science. A lot of you university educated people who studied some crazy calculus, studied some crazy math, this is honestly very straightforward. So we're gonna show you a real example. I got the net worth calculator up here just to show you how you build wealth with real estate over time. They are all color coded, as I mentioned, relating back to the wealth generators of real estate investing. And let's get right into it. Let's say you've saved up 40 grand at your 9-to-5, you've saved up for that, and you're gonna put 20K into a down payment and then 20K for a renovation. So that's your plan. Now let's actually put it into use. So you look at a property that is valued at 120,000, but you actually bought it for 100,000. Now a lot of you are thinking,
well, Carlos, how am I supposed to buy a property for 100,000 in this crazy market?
Well, you're not. It's very hard to buy a property for 100 grand. However, you can still buy properties under market value. And if you don't believe me, you can watch my first flip video. I bought that property in May of 2021 in London, Ontario. Absolutely red hot market. If I can do that, you can do it as well. So let's get back to the example. You bought a property for 100,000. Now the mortgage structure on purchase is gonna look like this. In case you didn't know this, for the people starting out, you do need 20% of your down payment for a property if you do tend to BRRRR it. So let's say in this example, you need $20,000 for the down payment. So $20,000 for the down payment, the rest is covered by the mortgage, so $80,000, which makes up for that full purchase price. And as your plan over here, you do want to add $20,000 worth of renovations. So you're gonna put a lift on that property, forced appreciation. It goes from 120 to now it's valued at 150 after you renovated it. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go back to the bank, you're gonna show them the new nice renovations you've done. The appraiser is gonna say, yep, this is valued at 150. And then the bank will give you a new mortgage at 80% again. 80% of 150 is 120. So the new mortgage pays out the old mortgage, and then you're left with the difference, which is 40K. So you see what happened there? That original investment that you made, the down payment and the renovation, you just got it back through the refi. So you're seeing how we BRRRR'd. We bought it under market value, you renovated it, you rented it out, which we'll get into, you refinanced, and then you got your money back and you're gonna repeat it. So what happens over time is the following. So here we got the net worth calculator. Here's your original 40K that you saved up. And the first thing I put down here is your forced equity, 30K. Why did I put 30K? Well, because you have 30K in that property. So it's valued at 150, but you only owe 120. The difference is 30K, which is left in the property, that's yours. So you have 30K forced equity. And then lastly, you have $2,600 in cash flow. So let's get into that. Here is your cash flow calculator. So cash flow, you rent this property out for $1,000 a month. Your overall expenses are $780. And how did I calculate my expenses? Pretty straightforward. $530 for the mortgage amount, and then $250 for the miscellaneous expenses. That leaves me with about $780 every month. So 1,000 minus 780 leaves you with $220 every month. Multiply that by 12 months, you have $2,640 every year that you didn't have before you ever started in real estate. So now that you know how the cash flow works, you look at your net worth calculator. In year number one on your first property, you went from 40K, you added 30K with the forced equity, so $2,600 in cash flow. Your refi, you got it back in cash. All this stuff, you got it back through the refi. So in year number one, you started out with 40K worth of cash, and then you converted it into $72,600 of net worth. Now, if you notice, there's only two colors here, right? So there's a lot more wealth generation that's gonna continue to happen over time. So in year number one, this is your net worth. In year number two, this is what's gonna happen. You've been paying down your mortgage for over a year now. Your tenants have been anyway. So you don't owe 120, you owe 119, call it. So equity paid down in orange, you just made another $1,000 because you own another $1,000 worth of that property. And the property is now valued at $160,000. It's no longer 150. So it's in red. What does that mean? It's passive appreciation. The land value has gone up. So you're gonna see that there's a brown 6%. That's referring to the percentage of the value of the property that has gone up. So it went from 150 to 160. That's an overall 6% increase, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a hedge on inflation. So inflation's sitting at 3.6. Your property just went up in 6%, so it's actually outperforming inflation. So you got that, and then you have the cash flow. So cash flow, again, I wrote it in brown. Why? Because it's no longer $2,600, it's $27,000. Why? Because rents have gone up, cost of living has gone up. So you're gonna get another $100 in cash flow each month. So in year number two, as a real estate investor, you're gonna make $13,700 in this example. So after 2 years of investing in just this one property, that original $40,000, you made $72,600 in your first year, $13,700 in your second year. This is your new net worth, $86,300. You've more than doubled your net worth in a span of 2 years as a real estate investor. Again, what you wanna do over time is just buy more and more and more of these things. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I can tell you firsthand that this has made me a hell of a lot wealthier than I was 7 years ago. I was able to quit my 9-to-5 job at age 26, and now I'm able to actually do what I want to do with life. There's nobody telling me what to do, so I highly recommend that you start doing this if this is something of interest to you, because it changed my life quite literally, and hopefully it'll change yours. Now, before getting too much into the kumbaya stuff, I do want to show you the tax benefits of all this stuff. So you're working your job, you're making X amount at your job at 9 to 5, and you're probably getting taxed quite high. I'm gonna show you how the tax benefits come into play. So again, you had that 40K that you saved up, and then you got 40K back. If you notice, there's a yellow star there, tax-free. Refinances are tax-free, unlike flips. So when you're flipping a property, you get taxed on capital gains. When you're refining, it's totally tax-free. That money is back in your pocket. The government's not gonna touch it. On the forced equity, that's tax-free. Your cash flow, not tax-free. However, that $2,600, you're gonna be able to keep quite a large sum of that if you're good with your taxes. So high level overview, you're gonna write off your interest payments, you can write off your management, you can write off your lawyers, accountants, literally everything you can write off. That $2,600 that you made as a real estate investor is a total tax benefit here. Your equity pay down, that's tax-free. Passive appreciation, tax-free. And again, the only thing that you need to be careful with is the cash flow. The cash flow is taxable. However, with the tax deductions, you are able to keep a lot of that in your pocket. So all in all, guys, these are the 6 wealth generators and how they affect the BRRRR strategy. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I'll be seeing you next time on the next video. The next one will be on the 6 wealth generators, and we'll see you then. Cheers.